So we're in Multimodal. It's very hot outside, and I have Ben here from Landways, and today we're going to be talking about warehousing and logistics. Hello, Ben.
Hi there, how you doing?
How are you today?
Very well, thanks, yes.
Nice. It's quite busy here in Multimodal, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah? You've been enjoying it?
Yeah, no, it's been a busy morning, so it's our first time here at Multimodal, so got a stand, so it's been interesting to kind of get out and meet people.
Right, let's jump into it then.
Okay.
So, do you want to tell me a little bit about the most important market trends influencing warehouse building infrastructure?
Yeah, so I guess we can see three kind of key trends that are relevant to what we're doing. So there's a demand for more power in warehouse facilities, better connectivity, and more sustainable warehouse facilities. So in terms of power, you're looking at things like the electrification agenda. So things like the electrification, with adding things like EV charging, electrification of heating systems, electrification, forklift charging, all that sort of stuff. There's also a change in the way warehouses are being operated, so they're introducing things like automation, AI and robotics, all needing power, but importantly they all need data as well, so better connectivity and often the data is being processed off-site in a remote data center, so you need high speeds and high connectivity and reliability, obviously, to avoid downtime and that sort of thing. And then sustainability. I think we've been seeing that the value of buildings is increased when a building is more sustainable. So green buildings with green certificates are certified, maybe 11% higher values for sale, and potentially 13% when they're being for rental values as well, and that's the sort of trend that we're seeing, and we think that's only going to increase as people look to become more sustainable in their operations. So.
That's really interesting, thank you. So what are some of the biggest challenges impacting owners and occupiers of warehouses? I mean, obviously sustainability is a key thing that they're having to keep in mind these days, but please just tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously over the last couple of years we've been seeing a really big increase in energy prices, and that's obviously impacting operators of warehouses. It's costing a lot more to run their facilities, so they're obviously looking at ways to improve energy efficiency. They're looking at things like renewable energy and how they can make use of that. You've also got challenges around actually getting enough energy to sites, so grid connections. So that's when you're building new sites, but also existing old sites. They might need a lot more power now than they did several years ago, and they might not. It's not easy always to upgrade those grid connections, so that's a challenge, and it sometimes makes sites less viable, and people, occupiers having to look at relocating to actually get the power they need to run sites. So that's a challenge. And then obviously, sustainability. Occupiers are really looking to achieve net zero, and they're looking at ways to run their sites more efficiently. So key.
That's really interesting, thank you. So can you tell me a little bit about the developments in warehouse infrastructure and how they're helping owners and occupiers?
Yes, I mean we're seeing there's a number of developments that we see are kind of helping to improve the way infrastructure is deployed in warehouses. So greater use of fibre, so fibre optics for connectivity. And then one of the other key trends that we're addressing is around power and the way power is distributed in facilities. So over the last, recently, or over the last 20-30 years, the way that devices in buildings consume electricity has changed. So most devices, about 70% of building devices consume electricity in direct current, whereas the distribution's in using alternating current. So, and every time you change from alternating to direct current, you lose about 15% of the energy. So what we're seeing is an uptake of microgrids where you remove those inversions, and that actually improves the efficiency, removes a lot of components you don't need. I mean, there's a real uptake in this in the US, so in Northern Europe, and countries like Japan, where microgrids are becoming more and more of a thing in buildings, basically.
And I know Landways have done a lot of being very innovative with the currents and direct currents especially. Can you tell me a little bit more about those innovations?
Yeah, so Landways, obviously, we build these DC microgrids in buildings. That's obviously, we build that, so we're removing the inversions, removing a lot of the materials, a lot of the common points of failure, so it improves the performance of systems.
Yeah.
And then we're also, we do it also as a service, so we will actually finance that, we'll finance the design of it, the build, the maintenance, and then provide it with a guaranteed performance. So every system that we're deploying, it has a performance standard, so a customer knows they've got a level of connectivity, it's going to last throughout the contract term. So
yeah. And in terms of if there's any sort of power outages, is there anything that you guys are providing?
Yeah, so within our infrastructure, the microgrid we'd have a sort of centralised unit where we would have centralised battery storage.
Okay.
And so there's a battery backup for all the core systems. That enables us to do interesting things like but integrating renewable energy. We can then cycle that energy. So if you're generating energy in the day, you can then store it and then use it at night.
Yeah.
So getting better use of the renewable energy that's being generated on site.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's kind of a few different things that we do.
Oh, thank you for that. So is there anything else that you'd like to sort of tell us a little bit about Landways and more innovations? Or
So yeah, we've developed our own cabling infrastructure that forms part of the way we deploy these systems. So we use compressed air to blow cables around the building. So you put in basically a honeycomb microduct, and from one end you would then, using compressed air, you blow cables through the building, both fibre cables and power cables.
Yeah.
So you can put the microduct in on day one if you're building a site, and then as you need additional capacity, rather than having people come and pull cables through the traditional way, you just blow it through, and it does it in a fraction of the time. So in over 250 metres, you could install a new cable in 15 minutes.
Oh wow!
So that's a lot more efficiency, a lot more scalability for the future. It's got it's got much longer lifespan than traditional systems, because normally you might come in and put in a system on day one. It might have a 7-8 year lifespan, and then they rip all the cables and put the fresh system in. But with this, you just put the fresh system at the end, or add additional cabling as you need it.
So it keeps everything up and running a lot faster when you're changing.
Yeah, so it's much more.
That's
efficient.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's been great chatting to you, Ben. And
Yeah, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Speak to you again.
Yes, cheers.